First match, AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon. AJ Styles was not originally going to be facing Shane McMahon. They'd hoped that Shawn Michaels would have a match with AJ Styles. They'd invited him to come out of retirement, but Michaels just declined the offer. And so he ended up being booked against Shane McMahon. You can tell from the little video that they put in this that this storyline did not have a great deal of build.
Cobbled together really quickly.
I'm
suddenly really angry about...
Yeah, you're holding me down. Yes, I am. Do something to me. Hit you. Can we go to WrestleMania? Yeah. It's got that feel to it. There is something funny about sticking AJ Styles, though, with Shane McMahon. It's a way of the WWE finally accepting him and trying to push him as a big main eventer. Only real stars get to fight McMahon's at WrestleMania.
Right.
It's like they've had him on probation for a few years since his first debut. And over time, they've gone, it seems like he isn't like a spy from the independent scene. It seems like he is doing things the way we want him to, and he isn't causing sabotage or anything. So maybe we should accept him.
Yeah.
And they start to do that.
It's like a big quarantine session, isn't it? When you import your dog.
Completely that. It is a funny thing as well, where you sort of go, we have finally decided to give you the big match that you've been hoping for against the part-time son of the owner. And there is a little bit of okay, you're going to have to work very hard to make this work to some degree. Shane said, I was just privileged to be in there with him and do that. And then what we were talking about is like, hey, let's do something that no one's going to suspect. He's one of the best in-ring performers. So I said, why don't we showcase that a little? He said, oh, that's great. And we started thinking about a couple of things we could do. Why don't we showcase a little the fact that you're one of the best in-ring performers? The very fact that has to be something that you suggest. Yeah. That you're really, really good in the ring.
Shall we score some goals this afternoon, lads?
Yeah. Should we actually try and have a good match here? It does slightly tell you about the fact that being brilliant at wrestling, not necessarily, that's not necessarily the thing you're going to get to do. No. And I think there's a funny thing there where Styles comes out and actually he's obviously gone, okay, I've now proved myself. And when he comes out, he's like the performer he was in New Japan, where he comes out and he's confident and brash and he's arrogant. And brilliantly, he looks at Shane McMahon like, who the fuck do you think you are being in the ring with AJ Styles? Anytime you get something that has a little ring of truth to it in wrestling, it is always super effective. And that really makes this good. He treats Shane differently to how other wrestlers treat him in the ring. Normally, when you go against Shane McMahon, you have that thing of just going, he is a real threat. He's got such sick MMA skills. His punching is lightning fast and deadly accurate. And people have that thing of going, he comes out once a year and he kicks ass. And AJ Styles just has that thing of going, you are the greying son of the boss. The boss is getting old, you are getting old, and this is humiliating for us both.
This is what I'll do. I'm going to embarrass him. John, you've known Shane McMahon a long time. You know what he's willing to do in a match.
Shane is actually very, very good in this match. He does quite early on, he does a sort of spinning back elbow into AJ in the corner. And that surprises everyone, not least AJ, who later gives him a receipt for it. He later does one on him. And I think it's a thing of sort of like, I did not like that. That is, the spinning back elbow, you cannot control where it's going to land.
Yeah.
In proper MMA, the spinning back elbow can be a devastating knockout because A, it looks spectacular, but B, you just do not see it coming.
No.
And there is a thing about, if you're doing professional wrestling, you don't really want to use moves that your opponent can't see coming. Because that's how things go wrong. Go very wrong. Oh, what's going to happen? His dad's going to shout him. You know, that's the weird thing about it. I think when you go into a match with Shane McMahon, you do have that thing of going, he's never going to get fired for anything. And if it's bad, I am going to get the problem.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll be fired for it. But I've never seen a match I haven't gone, oh, it was quite fun.
Always good. Always good. He does work harder than... I mean, they always talk about like Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon would never ask somebody in his wrestling company to do something he wouldn't do himself. Obviously, there are limits to that. He is not going to throw himself off Hell in a Cell, but he pretty much has done.
Did he do that for Gronk?
Everything.
Gronk didn't want to jump off quite recently,
WrestleMania 36, Gronk didn't want to jump off a platform onto a load of wrestlers underneath. So Vince McMahon, I think he was 74, he showed him how it could be done. Just, he does it. I think Shane McMahon has that same thing of, I think Shane McMahon is at least aware that he is put in that position because of who he is, rather than what his abilities are. But quite brilliantly, he's always tried to rise to the task. He isn't going to go in there and disrespect the business, the family business, and all the people who work for them by not being as good as he can be.
This is a perfect example of Shane McMahon's fearlessness. A perfect example of crazy. Shane going up to the top. Come on, Shane, no. The official trying to get him down. Shane McMahon to the top. Watch out. Oh, my God. Shane missed big time.
this match, it's got a sort of slow pace at the start, and then suddenly it just picks up. So early on, AJ Styles throws Shane McMahon into the announcer's table, and Shane McMahon just sort of goes, time to defy the laws of physics. And as he's being thrown across the table, he's on his back, and halfway in the throw, he suddenly just picks up speed. It's just like he goes into the table, like that. I don't know how he does it. There's not much back and forth in the match. So you pretty much get Styles just beating Shane McMahon down. Yeah. Shane will absorb the punishment. Those matches where they aren't back and forth always feel long. And we see all of them in this WrestleMania have these long sections where people are just being beaten down to no heat, and then they'll eventually come back. What happens here, the announcers, they really sell it, and they're all talking about the heart of Shane McMahon and things like that. And they're always going about how brave he is. And it sounds like two things. One is it's going, the seed of our chairman is strong, like the beloved chairman himself. And it's also the sort of thing I think that Vince McMahon probably thinks about Shane McMahon, which is they think he's got a lot of heart. He's got a lot of courage and everything. But it also suggests he might lack a bit of brains, talent and business ability. Such heart. He leads with his heart. He's got to stop, but he just will not quit. And there's all those things where you sort of go, I think this is Vince saying, do make it clear that he is a dunderhead. Shane does some MMA submissions throughout this. That was always his thing about, I'm legit, I'm not a pro wrestler.
Right.
He very much wanted Vince McMahon to buy a UFC. And at one point, it looked like that was going to happen. And they were very much, I think Bellator also came into the mix. But Vince McMahon just said, no, I don't want to get involved. And that was the moment, I think, where Shane McMahon left WWE, where he was like, I had that all ready. It would have been a great idea. And I'm suddenly remembering I am totally beholden to my father. Out he went, struck out on his own. Came back. Came back with no backstage role anymore. You dunderhead. They do a double clothesline spot that is as good as that spot has ever been done before. It always looks crap when they both clothesline each other at the same time and lie on the floor. And that one, they hit each other so hard that both of their bodies sort of pivot up. It's a really, really good little bit. The referee gets knocked down, and suddenly, as the referee goes down, the sun goes down. And the second the sun goes down, the match just clicks. And it is so fast from that point. It goes into a really good gear. They do a coast-to-coast drop kick where Shane McMahon's got a bin across him and AJ Styles comes out with a drop kick onto it.
Loves a bin. He loves that bin. Loves the bins.
Shucks it at AJ and hits him, does his own one. They just start going, and you get 2 counts here, and the two of them work so well together. AJ Styles, one of the best wrestlers in the world, has been for probably the last 5 years, maybe even longer. He just works really, really well with Shane McMahon. He does his springboard forearm, and McMahon grabs the arm as AJ comes off the rope, and he just turns it into a DDT. It looks both sloppy and, as a result, really realistic and devastating. It's a really, really surprising move. Up goes Shane. He does a shooting star press, which he misses. Shooting star press is one of those rare moves where it looks better when it misses than when it hits. It's more spectacular. If you hit it, you're like, it's a splash. And you miss it, you're like, that was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed that move. The crowd begin chanting, this is awesome. And Styles then pins him with a phenomenal forearm. I mean, it's a really good match. Really enjoyable. Yeah.
Flies. Really great start. 20 minutes, I think. Didn't feel like it.
Did not feel like it at all. 4 stars it got from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which was the highest rated match of the night.
Oh, there you go.
So you just have to realise that from now on in, it's all downhill.
There is a reason why I am feeling very, very good. And that would be that this morning I took care of a little bit of business. No more lockbox. No. And total control. Nobody has anything on me and never, ever will again.
The Fatal 4-Way elimination match between Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha Banks and Nia Jax. Yes. How did you find this one, young Peter?
I enjoyed it very much. I love and have always loved the Bayley buddies, the inflatable men.
Yes.
They are here. I want to see people tagging them out.
Yep.
I want to see them being fed through the middle rope so they can get involved in the action.
One of the great turns when they decided that Bayley in 2019, 2020 would become a bad guy was when she began hacking those so that they flopped and flew with these great big rips in their guts. It was a lovely, lovely little bit of turn. This is a funny thing, actually, you see at this WrestleMania. She was so over in NXT with this gimmick of Bayley is a hugger, hug life and all this. And it changed very much when you go to WWE, because in NXT, they worked in a small university venue with a fairly regular crowd.
Yeah.
Everyone was
in
fun.
The game,
there was, there was trainees, and it was all just a sort of nice nice social scene. Of course, when you get to the big one, stadium show, if you try to hug Bayley, you will be shot because you are assaulting a female athlete. And I think the gimmick could never quite get over like it had in that small room, because in that small room there was a sense of genuine friendship and camaraderie.
Yeah.
And when you take it out to the big world, what it is men grabbing a woman. And that had to stop.
It reminded me of my mate Craig. He sent us a fucking video of this fucking guy on TikTok. I can't get through without laughing at him.
An exclusive! It arrived! It arrived!
A guy who is he's in his what I think might be, he's certainly in an apartment building, right?
Yeah. It's called something like Tales from the Second Story.
Yeah.
Which suggests he's on a couple of floors up.
So he's buying like old WWE, WWF figures.
Yeah.
And his whole TikTok is him getting boxes of
Yeah,
figures.
just coming through the
just coming through the post. And him going, he gets Junkyard Dog, he gets Rowdy Roddy Piper, and he just goes,
he just shows you what he's bought.
Yeah, exactly. And he just basically goes, it's Junkyard Dog, and he's got his crown, and he's got his chain, and he runs to the back door, runs to the camera, and then jumps
like a rat in a cage that's running back and forth. He's sort of like, ugh!
And then he jumps really high in the air with his legs really high and stamps. And he does it about 15 times. Bang, 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 bang. Because he's excited about his wrestling figures. And I cannot get enough of the guy.
It arrived!
I don't know where he's come from. I presume he's quite popular because someone's made a compendium of him. But
what's really funny about it is it's not like he's getting things which are, this is hard to get.
Right.
He's just ordered the new figures as they've
Amazon,
come out.
Yeah.
Amazon have posted them to him. And he's like celebrating because he's like, this is here earlier than I thought it would be. And he goes absolutely ballistic. When I watched it, I was like, imagine being the people who make the toys. And you just like, had no idea it would bring that much joy to anyone.
I know.
That is, I cannot believe
God.
how much happiness this guy has got and how angry his neighbours are.
And then the kid cuts to this next clip where he's got a letter in his hand and someone's complaint, and he said, I can't make any noise for a little while because I've had complaints. They're going to evict me, right?
For a little while as well. Like, I'm just going to let it die down, then I'm going to start again.
The height he gets on the jumps.
Just got a warning. Not to be loud. Can't be loud for a little bit. See this? Next time, I get evicted.
Craig pointed out that he deleted his TikTok, so he's clearly been evicted. And he said, if I'm not allowed to jump up and down with a Rowdy Roddy Piper figure, it's not worth living. It's not worth doing. I'm deleting it. Oh, God. Oh, he jumped so high, Mark.
It is pure fandom. You don't want to be sat next to him at WrestleMania. I'm pleased he's out there. I'm pleased he loves it. But I also don't want him to do it near me.
Bianca Belair! It arrived! Woo!
Nia Jax comes out. She was also started off in NXT. There is always a slight sense of anxiousness behind her eyes. When this match starts, you see something really odd about Nia Jax, which is she's very good at the wrestling, but the second the move stops, she doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So whenever she's not doing a slam or she's not doing an arm lock, she just stands there a bit rigidly. And there's a couple of times where Charlotte Flair would give her a chop. She'd go chop, and Nia Jax would go, ah! She'd go chop. She'd go, ah! And then they just look at each other. And Charlotte Flair would be like, okay, I'll do something else. There's no sort of sense of flow for her.
Right, okay.
It's a strange one.
Over the top rope to the apron. Catches her with a forearm. And again, Nia just staring at her.
That just ticked Nia off.
And now she sends Charlotte like a bowling ball through Bayley and Sasha.
My goodness.
Sasha Banks comes out, and she comes out on the back of what looks like a sort of car from the Wacky Races. And she's hanging on the back as well, which, again, holding on to the back of the car makes it look like you're not supposed to be there or haven't been allowed in. There was a slight sort of, like that guy is like, I know we're seeing each other, but we're going to drive through, and there's some friends of mine, you can't be next to me in the car. You have to hold on to the bumper. And there she is. And then you get Charlotte, and she completely looks like everything a wrestler should be. She comes out totally sort of arrogant, sort of drinking it all in, like this is her birthright. Absolutely, is her birthright. She just has sort of complete control in that situation. And the others do suddenly look like entertainers, and she comes out and looks like a sportsman. I think it's a really sort of interesting delineation that she puts into that. It's not a bad match, this one. It's quite fast. I think it suffers slightly from being an elimination match. So they do quickly get Nia Jax out of the way.
Everyone piles on, don't they?
They do, yeah.
The thing about Nia Jax is she does all the big wrestler moves. So like she does that moveset is the same, and everyone piling on because she's bigger.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, good.
She's essentially your big show in the women's division, and she does wrestle like that, which is sort of, again, I think, what you're seeing there, of course, is you're seeing the Vince McMahon idea of how big people wrestle.
Yeah.
I think Nia Jax does successfully wrestle as Vince McMahon's idea of a big guy. And the other three are just great. Once they've got her out of the way, and there is a bit where they do a back suplex where... And sometimes when you've got all those moving parts, these things don't quite go as well as they should. And what happens there? They give her a back suplex. She lands on the top of her head like she's in All Japan in 2000. It's a devastating suplex. Absolutely. The most savage move in the entire WrestleMania. Really sort of like, oh, Christ. Once they get rid of her, you sort of get the feeling, okay, now the match proper can begin.
Right.
We've got rid of
that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing I found a little bit distasteful. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. What you get is you've got three women as well who then come together who have been wrestling with and against each other pretty much since their careers started. They're now used to having had like high profile matches in NXT. They've all been in WWE for some time, so they've now got used to that style. So what they are all trying to do, all trying to show that they are the best one out of the lot. And as such, all the matches they have against each other are really good.
Yeah.
There's this constant jostle between Sasha Banks, Bayley, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch. Obviously not on this WrestleMania for Becky Lynch, but it's a constant jostle between them to go, I am the best one in this division.
Yeah.
And all of them have been at that number one spot. And you just never know which is the next one who's going to take it. And I find that that's a really, really exciting... It's a golden era, I think, not just really for women's wrestling there, but for WWE, where you have four main eventers who are continually flipping who is having the better, not even year, but month, And I think you can really see it in this match. Bayley gets the pin with a Macho Man elbow drop, finally on Charlotte Flair to retain her belt. It's booked a bit oddly, this one. It does feel like it should have come down to a battle between Sasha Banks and Bayley, who were the best friends and the people who had all the NXT main events together. It feels like Charlotte should have gone, and the two of them should have really, really gone at it.
Yeah, because Charlotte not being on the later one as well.
Exactly. This is an annoying thing that they did in this one, where I believe this is one of the split brand ones. So they are having things like the Raw tag team titles and the SmackDown women's title and things. So they limit it slightly, and rather than having the best matches at WrestleMania, the biggest night of the year, you're still going, oh yeah, but they can't face each other because they're on the rival program. And that's a dumb thing to do.
Sasha Banks! The boss!
Man is accused of making several rap videos threatening to shoot up a school and his place of work. 36-year-old Tron Wellburn was booked into the Volusia County Jail Monday. Police at Fort Worth say they got a video on YouTube of someone threatening
the boss!